Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. Naomi here. I'm super excited to talk about books today. I love natural beauty and makeup and all of that, but books are my life. I mean, ever since I was little, I was always that kid that had a book with her wherever she went. I'm still that girl. And I figured since I didn't start my channel until halfway through the year, that I would try and do a first half of the year wrap up to get you guys caught up on everything that I've read, or most of what I've read so far this year. And I've got a lot of books here, so let's get started. First up is The Natural Beauty Solution by Mary Helen Leonard, and I did a whole review on this on sweetvioletbeauty.com in I think January, so I'm not going to go too much into this now. You can check it out there. Next up is The Kiss of Deception, Book 1 in the Remnant Chronicles by Mary E. Pearson, and I just love this cover. The cover is what attracted me to this book in the first place, but I found that I really enjoy this story. So I picked up the second one in the Remnant Chronicles, The Heart of Betrayal, another gorgeous, gorgeous cover, and I'm super excited to read the third book in this series, which comes out this fall, maybe in just a couple of months, I think. And I gave both of these 5 out of 5 stars. Next is The Slow Regard of Silent Things by Patrick Rothfuss. This is just a little tiny book with some really cool pen and ink drawings throughout. I think I read this in one sitting, but I would highly recommend this if you are a fan of Patrick Rothfuss. If you have read his King Killer Chronicles, he's got 2 books out in that series so far, and those were written quite a few years ago, and he's been working on his 3rd book in the series. I can't wait for that book to come out. I think it's supposed to come out in 2017, and that's going to be like my most anticipated book of 2017, I think. But this was a fun little side story about one of the characters from that series, and kind of quirky and odd and dark in a lot of ways, but I just really enjoyed it. I love his writing. A memoir by Alex Munro. This is called Two Turtle Doves, a memoir of making things. Again, I was attracted by the gorgeous cover, but I enjoy a good memoir and have done a lot of memoir writing myself, and especially I love learning about creative people, makers. He's a jeweler, and so this takes us through his whole process of how he started from childhood all the way through till his 50s, I think, and it was just a beautiful story, and I really loved seeing into his world of jewelry making. Passenger by Alexandra Bracken. This was, I think, so hyped up on YouTube or BookTube that I think I was expecting a lot out of this book, and I did give it 5 out of 5 stars. I really, really enjoyed it, but it wasn't like mind-blowing. But I mean, I think that's just because I was too hyped up by everything I was watching about before it even came out. But I really, really enjoyed this, and I will be purchasing the second book in this series, which I think comes out next year, beginning of next year. This is about time travel and pirates and a whole lot of fun stuff. I hit kind of a reading slump in March because I started the Outlander series. And I guess it wasn't really a reading slump, but usually I read like 3 to 4 books per month, and then I started reading these, and they're really big. They don't look huge here, but this one is 600 something pages, 620 something pages, and I gave this 4 out of 5 stars. I really, really fell in love with the world and the storytelling. I love this book. There were some controversial parts of it that I hated, but all in all, an amazing series, so much so that I picked up the next 2 books. So then I read the second one, Dragonfly in Amber. I gave this 4 stars also, and this one I think is, 730 something pages. These take a while to get through, and I love how floppy they are though. Like, I love hardcovers, but these are fun to read. Okay, so then I picked up Voyager, and this one's even longer. I think it's 870 pages almost. This one took me forever to get through, and I really liked it. The story changes a lot from where we are in the first two books to this one, but I loved it. I gave this one 5 stars, I think, and it was a really good read. I was in this for like most of March, but really, really good. And I haven't decided if I'm going to continue with the series or not yet, because I've heard that it changes even more, and we just get so far away from where we were in the first 2 books that it like totally changes. But that's just from reviews that I've read. I don't know. I'll probably continue the series and pick it up maybe this fall. Next is a nonfiction sort of spiritual self-help type book. It's called Warrior Goddess Training: Becoming the Woman You Are Meant to Be by Heatherash Amara. I hope I'm saying that right. And I just found this to be a beautiful book that touches on a lot of stuff, and it goes really deep. And I found this really useful for incorporating some of the tools in this into meditations and helping to overcome anxiety and all sorts of things. I would recommend looking this up and checking it out if you are interested in that kind of thing at all. Then I started the Lunar Chronicles. I was super late to the game on these, but oh my gosh, did I enjoy them. First is Cinder, and this is kind of like, the whole series is of retellings, but they're loosely retold. It's futuristic, and our Cinderella in this story is a cyborg. How badass is that? Next is Scarlet, and this goes into, it continues where Cinder left off, but now we're introduced to the retelling of Little Red Riding Hood. Then goes into the retelling of, I can't think of her name. Rapunzel. Cress is Rapunzel in this. And this might have been like my favorite of the whole series, even though the whole thing was so good. But I gave all of these 5 out of 5 stars, by the way. This is what I read in between Cress and the final book called Winter, because that's what was recommended to me, that I read this one in between those two, even though it's not part of, I mean, it's part of the series, but it's like a side story of the series. This is Fairest, and it's Lavanna's story. So this is our story of the evil queen. Last, and this one's super heavy, this is a big last book. This one was 800 and something pages, Winter, which concludes, actually I think she might be writing more books in that series, I'll have to check, but this was at the time the final book in the series, called Winter, and we are introduced to Snow White. And this was just an amazing, amazing book. Following all those fairy tales, I read Fairy Tale Fashion, and this was sent to me for my beauty blog, and I was expecting it to be mostly photos. This is like a nice big coffee table book, but it's actually like 50% or more essays, and there's a lot of reading in here, and I read through all the essays, and there's just some gorgeous stuff in here. I mean, I don't know if you can see. And it goes through all the fashion of fairy tale classics through the ages, what's mentioned in stories that were hundreds of years ago, up until the runways of today that are inspired by fairy tales. And I absolutely love this. If you have any interest in, you know, fairy tale type fashion, then you should definitely pick this one up. This was one of my most anticipated reads of this spring, and it did not disappoint. This is from one of my favorite authors, Cinda Williams-Shima, not sure how to say that, but again, gorgeous cover. And this is a kind of a continuation of one of her previous series, but it's also its own thing, and it's called Flamecaster. So it is a Shattered Realms novel, and this takes place in the same world as the Seven Realms series that she wrote. This is the last book in that series, and it takes place maybe like 15 years later, I'm not sure, but it is about basically the descendants of the characters in the last books, and it was amazing. 5 stars. Then everyone's been talking about this non-stop, so I'm not going to talk too much about it, but I really enjoyed this. I heard that a lot of people didn't like the first book in this series, A Court of Thorns and Roses. I really enjoyed that one. I gave it 5 out of 5 stars. I went with it. I enjoyed it. It entertained me. and this one was just even better. So A Court of Mist and Fury by Sarah J. Maas. She is one of my favorite authors currently, and I have read everything else that she's written so far, I believe. And a huge book. I almost wanted it to be even longer because it's just amazing, but I can't wait for the third book in this series, hopefully coming out next year, not sure. But a very beautiful read. Next I read Truth Witch, and this one, I had high expectations for this book, and I did enjoy it, but I only gave it 4 out of 5 stars, which for me is, I mean, it's simple. If I enjoy the book and it entertained me and it brought me out of my own world for a while, then I usually give it 5 out of 5 stars, but I was so distracted, I think, when I was reading this book with other things going on in my life, and that might have been part of the problem, but typically I want to be able to come back to a book each night and I can't wait to get, reading. But this one I was just kind of like, oh yeah, I should probably finish that book. And again, it's not that I didn't enjoy it. It was a great story. It's got a lot of great female friendships in it. But I don't know, it just wasn't as amazing as I hoped. But still, 4 out of 5 stars. Next, I read Fragrant by Mandy Aftel. And this is a book about natural perfume. I think I mentioned in my last video that I'm a botanical perfumer, and I am just reading everything that I can about perfume right now, especially natural and botanical perfume. So this was a really quick read, and it had some recipes in it and a lot of useful information. The structure was kind of a little all over the place, but I really enjoyed it, and I think I gave it 5 out of 5 stars. Next, I picked up Atlantis Rising by T.A. Barron, and I wasn't really sure if this was meant for middle grade or young adult or what when I picked it up, but it looked really cool, and I've always been intrigued by anything Atlantis. So, and this author also has a huge series of 12 books out about Merlin, and I love all that kind of stuff about Merlin too, and was obsessed with the show Merlin that was, I think, on the BBC a couple years ago. But anyway, so I decided to check this out. I got it really cheap on Book Outlet or Book Depository, I forget which one. And I think it is for more middle grade readers because it was, I don't know, the language was almost too, how do I describe it? There were so many exclamation points that were unnecessary throughout this book. And it kind of made me frustrated. It brought me out of the story, that there were so many exclamation points that it brought me out of the story. So I think it was almost insulting for middle grade readers. They don't need to be told that everything's an exclamation all the time. That being said, I really enjoyed the story and the characters and the fantasy aspects of this book. I don't know if I'll be continuing on with the series. I gave it 3 out of 5 stars. So yeah, there's my leaning tower of books that I have read so far this year. There are a couple more. I recently picked up Frostfire, which is the first book in the Canon Chronicles by Amanda Hocking, and I really loved this. I read it in just a couple of days, and then I picked up the other 2 in the series. Look at how pretty those covers are. Oh my gosh, I love those covers. So I'm halfway through Ice Kissed right now, really enjoying it, and so excited that this one just came in the mail yesterday, Crystal Kingdom, which is the final one in this trilogy. But I will go more into those in a future video. So that is all so far for my 2016 reading list. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you liked it, give it a thumbs up. I would also love to hear what you guys have read so far this year, or if you've read any of the books that I mentioned, or what you're looking forward to reading. So leave that in the comments below and subscribe so you can see future videos. And yeah, thank you so much for watching, and I hope you have a beautiful day. Bye!